Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. I'm Kuntal. We are conducting this webinar on today on the topic called integrating SQL with busy software. On this session, we are going to highlight or we are going to discuss on the conversion of SQL with busy, or we'll discuss what advantages we are going to have if we use SQL database. We'll get to know what SQL means, and also we'll look on the steps how we can install SQL in our system, and accordingly that we need to go through with the hardware configurations part also. So we'll cover up the entire information related to the installation of SQL and the integration of SQL with busy. Starting with the session objectives. So let's have a quick look on the session objectives. First, we'll have an introduction about the SQL, what SQL database means. We'll go through with the benefit and the advantages of having a SQL database. Then also we'll look on the hardware required for installing the SQL in the system. And we'll also go through with the process or the steps which we can choose to install the SQL in the system. And then at the end, there is a QA session where you can raise your questions and we can take up your questions, and we'll happy to give you an answer on that particular questions. Now, first discuss about SQL Server. What SQL Server means? SQL, or it's known as Structured Query Language, is a standard language used to store, retrieve, and manipulate data in relational database, that is RDBMS. It's basically developed and marketed by Microsoft company. Similar to other RDBMS software, SQL Server is built on top of SQL, a standard programming language for interacting with relational database. So SQL Server database mostly ran in Windows as well as in Linux also. So it's a backend database which take care your front end data or your data structure of your software also, and it will help you to manipulate the data and to retrieve the data and to store the data also. Advantages of SQL database. Now, if we discuss about the advantages, what advantages or benefit we are gaining, we will be having if we have SQL database along with busy software, that is manage huge data very efficiently. Means if your data size is exceeding higher than 2 GB, or if your data size is huge, then it will be managed very efficiently. So you will find no hassles in working in the software if the data size exceeded. Better data processing speed. So you will have a better data processing speed also. That means you will experience a speed in the software whenever you are working in busy software. If your data size is exceeded, but still you will get a higher processing speed if you have a SQL database in the backend. Better data reliability. That means in case of safety and security, it is better if we use SQL database. It is far better to have more safety and security in the database. Support up to 10 GB. That means in busy, you can have SQL database, or you can download the SQL Express version also. And against that, you can configure with busy software also to take up your data or to maintain your data in SQL database. So in case of Express version, it's a free version. You can download it from Microsoft site also. In Express version, you can store your data up to 10 GB. That means in single company, if your data size is more than 10 GB, then it is suggestible that you can suggest your customer, or you can purchase the standard or the enterprise license of SQL Server. But if the data size is below 10 GB, then you can work on Express version also. So it's quite workable in Express version also if your data size is below 10 GB in a single company. No limit of number of concurrent users. That means if your basically if you may be finding that if your data size is exceeding, if your number of users is exceeding that in some cases, if the database is not belongs to SQL, then some issues arises while operating the software. But there is no limit in the concurrent user if you are using a SQL database. Options of remote access, view as well as edit. That means if you are using SQL database along with busy software, then you will get an option to remotely access the uh, data from anywhere through static IP, also through RDP also. HOBO data synchronization from busy. That means in busy, in the enterprise edition or in the Emerald edition, we are giving an option to have a head office, branch office data synchronization features, through which you can easily sync your branch data in the head office or in the server system through a static IP. That means in your server system, there should be an SQL database, or your busy license or your busy software database should be on SQL in server. But in branch, you can keep the database in Access or in SQL also. So the head office and the branch will not be get connected real time. If you don't want to get it connect real time, then you can do it. So you can easily provide an individual license to a branch and enterprise license. The branch will work on that, and at the end of the day, the branch will click on the send button to synchronize the data to head office system. So at that moment, if head office system is open, then the data will get synced automatically from branch to the head office server data, and that will be work on the basis of static IP. So static IP is not needed in every location, means in not needed in branch. You need the static IP only in head office. So this HOBO features will be available in the enterprise or in the Emerald version, and it will work on the basis of SQL database. So your head office data should always be on SQL if you are using this feature called HOBO data synchronization. Now coming on the hardware requirement. So as I was discussing about the advantages of having SQL database along with busy software. So now coming on the hardware requirement for SQL. That means if you are going to install your SQL server in the backend to handle the database of busy, then there are some minimal requirement in needed for in your system. First is the hard disks. In case of hard disks, the minimum 6 GB of available hard disk space is needed. Monitors, that may be a resolution of 800 to 600, or higher resolution is recommended, more than 800 to 600. In case of memory, at least 4 GB and should be increased as database size increase to ensure optimal performance. That means minimum 4 GB of memory is needed in the system, but it is recommended that you need to increase it if the data size increase. Means if in your busy the data size increase up to more than 2 GB, 3 GB or 4 GB, then it's recommended to increase the memory of the system, that is more than 4 GB. Processor speed is minimum x64, and its processor should be 1.4 gigahertz minimum. I'm providing, or I'm sharing the minimum requirement. Recommended is 2.0 gigahertz or faster. That will help you to get a fast processing of your reports in busy. Processor type 64 processor, AMD Aptron or AMD Atron 64, Intel Xeon with Intel EM64T support, Intel Pentium 4. These are all certain processor type that is supportable in case of SQL. Static IP, address for remote access. That means if you are using SQL database, then you are getting an option to remotely access the server data from anywhere through static IP. That means you can use RTP also, you can have a static IP. Through static IP also, you can get the complete data from anywhere you get busy installed on your system and you are traveling. Now for example, if you are if you have installed busy, or if you have installed a demo copy of busy in your laptop and you are traveling with the laptop, and your office is open and you want to access the data, or you want to view the report of the company that is in the server system, so you can mention the static IP and you can get the view of the company that is created in the server, and you can get an access to view the entire reports. Okay, so if you are having license in the laptop, then you can also create and edit the transactions of your company directly from your laptop, from anywhere through static IP. Now coming on the steps we need to follow to install the Express edition, that is the free edition. As I said previously that if your company data size is below 10 GB, then it is your Express edition is supportable and it's quite good to go with the Express edition. Okay, so if you are going to install the SQL Express edition, you can download this SQL Server Express edition from the Microsoft site also. Now here I want to note down one point that the SQL, there are different version of SQL. There may be SQL 2016, 2019, SQL 2008. But it's depend on the OS also. That means if your Windows OS is suppose for example 10, then 2008 might not be supportable. SQL Server 2008 Express Edition might not be supportable. In that case, you can download SQL Server Express Edition 2012 or more than 2012. Okay, in case of Windows 11, SQL Server 2008 is not supportable. You have to download SQL Server 2012. So it's vary. Basically, it's vary on the operating system. You can get the information from the internet also. According to your OS, you can figure out that which SQL version is preferable to get installed in your system. Now, if I look on the installation of SQL Server 2008, then I'm sharing the steps with all of you. First, you have to download the SQL Express edition from the official site of Microsoft SQL Server. You will get the setup file from there, the free Express edition setup file, and you download the setup file and you run the setup file. This is the first step you can follow. Second is the clicking on the new installation option. That means when you run the setup file, you will get a screen where you will find an option to click on the new installation or add features to an existing installation. So you have to click on that new installations. Third, an option will come where you have to select the terms and conditions. You select the I accept the license terms, and then you have to click on the next button to continue. Now coming on the fourth step, after configurations, install button will highlight and you have to click on it to continue the installation process, and then click on next to continue. That means if you will get an install button. You have to click on that install button, and this process will go on. And then once the process get completed, here you will get a highlight of next button. You have to click on this next button to proceed. Some cases it found that in this case some error may comes that you have to restart the system. So don't worry about that. You may do one thing. You can restart your system once again, and you can start the installation process from the starting. Okay, so you can restart the computer, and then you can start the installation process once again if any error comes on this, or the next option doesn't highlight at this moment. If the next button doesn't highlight, then you have to restart your computer from this position. Okay, now once the next button get highlight, you click on this next button to continue. Then the fifth step, it will come to select the features. Now here I want to point out one thing, that the screen view of the setup file of SQL Server may slightly vary, because I'm showing the setup process of SQL Server 2008. In case of 2016 or 2019, you will find many more features, instant features. So the priority of selecting the features to be get installed in your system, which is needed for integrating busy with the SQL, is the database engine service. So you have to select the features database engine service, and also you have to select the features called management tool basics. So these two features is mandatory to be get selected. Other features you can select or deselect, but these two features is needed to be selected. Now here you will find an option to mention the path. By default it will come C program file Microsoft SQL Server. That means by default the SQL will get installed on your C drive program file folder, under program file folder. But if you want to install it in your D drive or E drive, you can change the path. So here what you have to do, you can simply click the cursor over here. You can remove the C, you can remove C, and you can type D over here, and /program file /Microsoft SQL Server should remain same. You simply remove C and type D or E where you need to install, and you can click on this next button to proceed further. In the sixth step, you will find a option to select name instance and default instance. Now here is a note I want to share with all of you, that if you select a default instance, then it will help you to get the server name by default. That means your system or your computer name will be defined as your SQL Server name. Okay, instant name. Now if you click on this name instance, then system or SQL will give an option to mention your own instant name. Whatever instant name you want to mention for your SQL Server, that you have to mention over here if you click on this name instant. And if you click on this default instant, then in the backend the computer name will be defined as your server name. Okay, so you no need to write down the instant name in this case if you click default instant. And similarly, if you want to mention the directory path where you want to install it, you can get the directory path. If you select D program file, then here it will come by default D program file. Okay, so if you click on this next button, then this option will appear, that is the selection of SQL Server browser. So here two options will come mostly, that is in the service, under service, that is the SQL Server Database Engine and SQL Server Browser. In case of SQL Server Browser, you have to select the local system. That means you will find an option called NT, the authorified local. The NT-authority/local, you will find this option called NT-authority/local. You have to select this. Okay, and then you can click here. You will find another option, status type. If it remain disabled, then you have to select it automatic. Okay, if you select manual, then you can select it automatic from this drop down button, and then you proceed on this, click on this next button to proceed. Okay. Next step is to select the mixed mode. Now here you will find two mode is coming. One is Windows authentication mode and another one is mixed mode. So what is the difference between these two? Windows, if you click Windows authentication mode, then it will not allow you to mention any password for your SQL. But in case of integrating SQL with Busy, we need a password for SA. SA is a default username. Okay. So you have to select mixed mode while installing SQL, okay, in your system. While you select mixed mode, then you will get an option to mention your password. You put whatever password you want to mention. You put the you retype the password in the confirm password box also, and then you click on this add button to add your specific user. So by default the user will get selected over here, this NT authority slash system slash. Here if you click on this add button, you will find your local user also. You can select the local user, or you can click on this next button to proceed. Okay. Now in the next screen, that is on the step number 9, you will find this error reporting screen. So you no need to select all these send Windows and SQL Server error. You no need to select this. You simply click on the next button to proceed further. In the 10th step, you will find this finished installation process. Okay. So now let me clear one thing. If you are going to download the SQL Server Express Edition setup file from Microsoft site, once you install the Express Edition, you can also install the Management Studio. Okay. So why Management Studio? What benefit will Management Studio will provide? If you install SQL Express Edition setup file, if you only install the SQL Express Edition setup file, then it is well okay to proceed or to integrate the data with your Busy. Okay, but if you install the Management Studio also, SQL Server Management Studio, then it will help you to get the data structure on your screen. That means you can log into your data structure and you can simply proceed for any further queries you need to. That means the SQL queries. If you are going to integrate with some add-on software, or if you need to customize Busy with other third-party software, they are also needed some SQL queries, or they need to execute the SQL queries, then for that Management Studio help on that case. So Management Studio will simply open your data structure, and there you can simply execute your queries on your database. Okay. So you can download two setup file. One is Express Edition and another one is SSMS, that is SQL Server Management Studio. Okay. So you can install two setup file in your system, or you can install Express setup file only also. And then you will get the option to integrate the SQL database with your Busy, or integrate the SQL Server with Busy. So I am sharing these steps how you can integrate the SQL with Busy also. So first step is to open the Busy. Second step is to click on the select Busy module. That means whenever you open your Busy software, you will find an option to select Busy model. And then when you click on that, you will find an option to select the database type. So there is two type of database, Access, and another one is MS SQL. So you select the database type MS SQL, then you have to close the Busy software and you have to reopen Busy software to get the effect. So once you reopen the Busy software, you will find an option to select set server information to specify the server detail. Okay, so here this when you click on the set server information option, then this server information box will appear where you have to mention the server name. As I show you in the setup file, that if you select the default instance, then you can mention the computer name as your server name. So you can mention your computer name as your server name. You can get the computer name from the my PC properties also. I will show you it practically in my system. And then you can put the password, whatever password you have defined while installing the SQL on selecting the mix mode. That password you need to put over here, and you have to click on the save button to start the Busy, or to create the company in SQL database in Busy. Okay, so let's see this process practically. Let's see the integration of SQL with Busy practically in the system. As I'm showing the steps, first steps was to open busy software. Then second step was to select busy model, and I have to select the database type. I select database type as MS SQL, but make sure before going to do the process, your SQL should remain installed in your system first. Okay, you click on the save button. Okay, now you exit busy, you open busy once again. Now you will find this model come on EC mode. That means the database will be on SQL Server mode. Okay, or in client server mode. Okay. So here you will find an option called set server information. If you click on this, you will find the set server information manually as well as read server information from security file. So what is the difference between these two? I will describe this point also. Right now, let assume that you are installed this SQL in your main server, or you are using concurrent user. That means in your system you are having 2 3 users who is operating the busy software, and your database is in SQL. So you are going to install the SQL in your server first. Okay, so you no need to install SQL in every system. You need SQL only in your server system. Okay, now you have to mention the server name. So how would you get the server name? Because I have installed the SQL in default instant mode, so I can mention the server name as my PC name. So I can get the PC name in this way also. If I select this PC, I click on the properties, I can get the PC name. So I will simply copy this device name, and I will simply paste this device name over here. Okay, and I will mention the password. Whatever password I have defined, I will mention over here. Okay, and I will click on the save button. Okay, once I click on the save button, I can create the company on my SQL. If I click on this create company, then this create company box will appear, and then whatever company I'm going to create, that will get created in my SQL database. Now if you want to see the data structure, the company, the comp folder, if you want to see the comp folder or the database structure in your SQL, then for that you have to install SQL Server Management Studio, that is SSMS. Okay, so as I have installed SQL Server Management Studio in my system also, so let me show you. If you you can, if as I'm using Windows 11 OS, so I can get the Management Studio in this way. I'm typing SQL. So once I click SQL here, it will come SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, so if I click on this, okay, showing version 19. That means I have installed SQL Server 2019 in my system. I've installed the Express Addiction as well as the Management Studio in my system. Now, if I want to figure out that what company I have created, what is the company code, or if I want to execute any queries on that data, so I will simply mention the server name, I will mention the password, I will select the authentication detail as SQL Server Authentication, I will click on this connect button. Okay, so if I click on this connect button, you will find under database, these are the company code that has been created. That means whatever company I've created from here, or whatever company showing in my open company list, that is the com 0002, com 0002, that company database is also showing in my SQL. Okay, so if I want to execute any queries, I can select that, or if any customization party need to execute certain queries or need to integrate busy with their software, they can manage to execute the queries through this Management Studio in your system. Okay, so it will help to integrate other software with busy software also. So this is the process to integrate SQL with busy, and the steps that I've shown you to install SQL in your system. Now, the advantages that I was explaining in the in the previous slide, that is the HOBO connectivity. So for HOBO connectivity purpose, uh, I explained that you need to install SQL in your hardware, in your head office. Okay, in your head office system, you only need to install SQL. You no need to install SQL in your branch office. So if you need to provide license in Access Database to a branch operator, then you can provide license. But the license would be umbrella or enterprise, because the HOBO feature is available in the enterprise edition. Okay. And in case of concurrent user, that means if in a same organization you have 2 3 system that is connected in LAN, and you are having 2 3 operators who are going to operate the busy in multi mode. Okay, so in that case, what you have to do in your server system, you have to install SQL. You no need to install SQL in other LAN system or in other client system. You need only to install SQL in your server system. And what how client system you can configure this. So once you configure the, or once you mention the server name, the password in your server system of SQL, then you simply, you can generate a security file from here. You click on this generate security file, you disable this option password required for security file, you select the path where you need to generate your security file, you click desktop, you click on this generate security file option to generate a SA file or a folder. Once you generate this SA file, you will find out I have mentioned I have generated this SA file in my desktop. So the folder name come around security file. So under security folder, you will find this SA folder is coming. Under SA folder, you will find this busy2 ls.dll. So this is the server information file. Okay, so you simply have to take this information file on your client system. Whenever you go to client system that is connected with LAN or shared with the server, so in client system you have to simply click on this read server information, and you can simply select the path, that means the security file path. If I have mentioned in on the desktop, I will select the DLL file and I will press OK open button to tag it. If I click on the save button, then in client system I will get the server company. That means if your server is open, if your server system is open, in that case, you in your client system, if you click on this open company, you will find the company database. Okay, so you no need to install SQL in your client system. Similar way, if anybody need to get the access of this company from outside location, so for that it needed to have static IP, and port of SQL that is 1433 or 1434 is needed to be get open or needed to be get forwarded in the router. So this port forwarding are mostly done by the internet provider who provide the static IP. They keep the port open for you. They will provide you a dedicated static IP. So how would you access the company through static IP? For that, if you are located in different location and your server is in another location, in your system you open your busy software, you select the busy model as MS SQL, then you reopen your busy and you click on this server information, then you have to mention the static IP over here. If your static IP is suppose 119.168.12.1, and your the port that has been opened in the router, that is 1433. 1433 is normally the SQL port. So this 1433 port will show open if your SQL is installed in your system. Okay, or if your static IP provider has make it open for you in your router. Okay, so if the static IP provider says that in this static IP all port is open, and still you found that 1433 port is closed in your system, then you figure out that whether your SQL is installed in your system or not, because without installing SQL in your system, this port will remain closed until and unless you install SQL in your system. Okay, so you need to install SQL Express Edition or SQL Standard Edition in your system first to get it open from the internet provider. Now, in case of this accessing of data from the different location, you have to mention server name, the static IP, then comma 1433 or 1434, and also mention the SQL password that you have provided while installing the SQL in the server system. Once you save this, simply against this IP, if you click on this open company button, then you will get the server company name. So you can easily access this company. You no need to go to your office and get it access from there. You can easily access the company from anywhere, from any location, okay, through static IP. And if you need to work on it, then if you have a license on your individual license on your system, then you can also work on it, or you can also do any modification or creation on that company, and that will reflect in real time in your server. Okay, so through RDP also, for RDP also static IP is needed. So through RDP also you can access this system. So basic company is providing an RDP access for SQL database also, or for concurrent license also. So these are the advantages that I've explained with all of you, that what facilities or what advantages you are going to have if you are using SQL database, or if your license is or your database is converted into SQL. Okay. Another thing is, if I need to import my access data in my SQL company, that means if I have created a new company in my SQL database, now if I need to get it import in my SQL company, the old access data. So for that, I can go to administration, data export import. Here I will get an option to import my access data or my old access data in SQL. So if I click on this import data from access, then I can select the path where my access company belongs. So I can simply click on this browse button to select the data folder path. Then I click on this arrow button, then all the access company will come over here. I can select the particular company that I need to convert in my SQL database. So I select that company, I click on the select button, I mention the username and password, and I can click the import button to convert that access company data in my SQL company that I have created in my SQL. So you can see I have created a new company name as demo. So easily the access data of this company will convert in my demo company through this import process. So that's all from my end. Further, if anybody has any questions and queries, can have their questions in the QA section. We will be happy to reply.